going to do the clap.
You got the clap?
I have to do it again. Fuck you.
No, keep it in.
We can't keep it in. Start talking. Fuck you.
Welcome, listeners, to the UFO 50 podcast.
We're not a UFO 50 podcast.
I'm joking.
We're mold.
All right, we're mold. No, this is Starting Topic. I am Ben.
I am Ryan.
And on this episode, we are going to be talking about, well, you've got a manga to recommend, I believe.
I do. I have one manga to recommend.
We're going to be talking a little bit about the game Quacksequedlinburg, as our viewers might see the box on camera.
Uh-huh.
I've got corrections about Donkey Kong from last week's discussion I've got to talk about.
Thank God.
But our main starting topic is going to be...
Stop killing games.
Oh, yeah. Stop killing games.
I don't know. This has become a sort of a thing in the past few months of acknowledging this movement. And it's a consumer movement. I guess if there's somehow a chance that the 5 people who aren't our best friends who watch this every week don't know. Stop Killing Games is a movement that was started by Ross. I can't remember his last name.
I don't know. I was not familiar with the people involved in the organization at all. It was something I only ever followed through Reddit headlines.
Got you. So Ross from Accursed Farms, this is a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Where he wanted to petition the EU and the UK to stop killing games. He wanted it to make it so that if you have a video game that you paid money for, you paid $60 for The Crew, we'll say.
Yeah, The Crew was their big example game because it was recent at the time. That was... continue.
If you wanted to pay for The Crew, for example, you would be able to continue playing that even after the game was sunset somehow. And
I want to get into that because there's a lot of drama around it between Ross and another YouTuber, which we'll get into. And a lot of it is about the specifics of what was being asked for.
Yeah, and I think that's where the other YouTuber sort of faltered, in my opinion.
I would say more than faltered, because there was lots of verifiably, very easy to verify information that he was just
not doing.
Yeah. Like, if you went to the website for Stop Killing Games and just read their opening statement on the front page, then, many of the things that were being said were not true. So, to be clear, Stop Killing Games, the idea was, so some games, some multiplayer-only games, they're supported by the devs for a certain amount of time, and then you can't expect those games to be supported forever. No. So eventually they stop support. And when that happens, players can't play the game anymore. Period. The servers get shut down, and it's a dead product in their library.
They paid money for a game, and then it's gone, and now you can't do anything with it. And it's actually happened quite a few times, but one of the major differences is that back in the day, back in, let's say, because this is the one example I know for certain, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original one, they had server browsers, and they had the ability to attach servers. So back then, that game got sunset forever ago, before I was into multiplayer gaming even. And you could take that game still to this day, and you could run your own servers through it because they have all the stuff for it. But because gaming has moved to such a controlled environment, that's become less and less possible.
Yeah, exactly. Like a game like Overwatch, it's completely controlled by Blizzard and Activision and now Microsoft, right? No.
Yeah. Yes.
And so if their servers get shut down, you just can't play Overwatch. You can't play by yourself. You can't play against bots.
A better
you can't create
example,
your own server.
You can't play Overwatch 1.
Yeah, you just can't play that. That's a game that doesn't exist now because they replaced it with Overwatch 2.
Yeah, which is insane. And then the other excellent example is Destiny. I don't know if you know about this, Ben.
I don't know about this. Because
I assume you don't know anything about Destiny. But if you, let's say, for example, you decide to play Destiny 1 and you very uncharacteristically loved it. You were like, this is actually my favorite game. I'm going to play the sequel. You would go and you'd boot it up. You could not play the content that was released right after at the beginning of Destiny 2.
Yeah, because
it's
it was
all
completely
deleted.
Redone.
It's not redone. It's deleted.
Okay.
When I can't stress enough, because you would imagine that if they were to replace content, they would keep it and reintroduce it every once in a while. They can't do that. They actually deleted the first like 4 expansions.
Jeez, just gone. So,
Just gone. You can't play them.
imagine being the dev who worked, like one of the devs who worked on all that, and now that's just, it's gone. People don't get to play your
It's
work.
insane. And the only reason you know that is because someone's suing them over it.
So, and like, one of the misconceptions is like, the Stop Killing Games initiative weren't saying that we want developers to support these games forever. They don't want they don't expect them to keep the servers on forever. They don't expect them to keep, adding content forever.
No.
What they just mean is, first of all, publish exactly when your support is planned to stop. Like, have a timeline and say, okay, we're going to support this game for like 3 years.
Yeah, some games have done that, but it's not actually that common.
Funnily, Nintendo always does that with their online games. Like the
Oh.
Splatoon stuff, they're like, we are going to support this for exactly 2 years. And then they did it for exactly 2 years. Sorry, you were saying.
I would say additionally to that, they should have a timeline, but if their thought process as the company is live service, where a timeline is actually just based on revenue,
Mm-hmm.
I think that there could be some flexibility there.
Yeah, definitely. And then besides, giving an expectation of like when that service is going to end, also just update the game so that it is in a somehow playable state. Not the same playable state it was before, because again, we do not expect, the servers to keep running.
So I would actually say this is the one of the 2 points, I'd say, where I actually kind of agree with what Pirate Software was saying. He was the other one.
Yeah,
Needle dropped.
Let's bring up the other YouTuber and a lot of the drama.
Well, he's more of a streamer, but yeah.
Yeah, so there is a streamer named Pirate Software,
Thor.
aka Thor,
Something.
who was very, very critical of the campaign and notably just got a lot of attention. And if I'm not mistaken, most of the most popular like YouTube videos and things that were like talking about Stop Killing Games were actually his videos criticizing it.
The first 2, and then Charlie Moist Critical came out with one more recently that now has more.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And I saw he's got a response video about that today when I was
Yeah.
like researching it this morning. So I'm sure he's already changed his mind because he's that kind of YouTuber who doesn't have his own opinions.
Pirate Software?
No, Moist Critical.
Oh, maybe. I have no idea.
He's just someone who just, always comments on drama so that he can get views.
I would push back on that a little. He actually has been avoiding that a lot recently.
Good.
Like, this is a clear exception only because he's actually passionate about the movement.
Well, let's not talk about
No, let's
'cause
not.
I didn't research Moist Critical, so.
But the point that I would agree with Pirate Software on is that there are going to be some games that can't be properly sunset. And Some Ordinary Gamers is his name, Mutahar. I don't know if you know him. He also made this point that some MMOs in particular use third-party software that like uses code from them that they can't just give out uncommercially for freely. And I think that's a fair point, that some games can't be properly you just can't make them in a functional playable state. But I think the main contention I have, like from the other side to Ross, is that it doesn't need to be in a functional playable state. You can release enough of the game to where the rest of the community, if they're passionate about it enough, can just fix it up where they need to.
I'd still say that still counts under what his definition was, because that was something that he explained a lot in his video. And, like, I agree that, like, a lot of previous games, you cannot do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that going into the future, if you're an MMO developer, then with these regulations in place, don't do that license from a third-party developer that you can no longer get that money, that you can no longer get that tech from. Like, those are the options they took in the past. We're saying, from now on, don't do that so that we can continue making these games playable for people in the future.
This is another point that Pirate Software made that I wholly disagree with, which is that he was trying to make the argument that, well, what do you do with League of Legends? And it's like, well, League of Legends would be in a grace period because it came out already, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, exactly.
And I hate to be the guy to tell you this, but the person who made that point, that I thought was a really good point, was Asmongold. And I was like, damn, that's a good-ass point, though.
It is a good-ass point. For League of Legends, too, it's like, okay, what would you do? So, the thing is that Dota 1 is still played today.
Yep.
And Dota 1 is just a mod for Warcraft 3. And Warcraft 3 is a game that is actually pretty hard to play thanks to Blizzard and Battle.net and the Warcraft 3 remake.
Yep.
But the thing is that, like, if you have some, like, an old version of Warcraft 3 available, You can find servers. You can play Dota with, other Dota fans online.
Yeah,
Blizzard does not need to be involved.
If you have a community that's really passionate about it, they'll make it happen.
When I was in high school, there were 2 games that people played a lot, multiplayer, that is, because lots of people play Plants vs. Zombies and Peggle.
Right.
But 2 games that people played lots multiplayer in our computer lab, online. Quake 3 and Halo 1 for PC.
Right.
And at that time, Quake 3 was pretty old, I think. I can't remember when Quake 3 came out. But, that game is just, online multiplayer or LAN multiplayer, because they didn't have, online servers back then. They didn't have, matchmaking back then.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone would just be in the same LAN party, all get into a server, pick your character, pick your map, start killing each other.
Yeah.
That's a perfectly playable state of the game, I'd say,
Yeah, well, that's very fair. I think that's a good point. It's just I don't even think it needs to be even that.
You don't even think it needs to be that playable?
I think that you can release it unplayable, literally, and then just allow a community of passionate people to make the effort they need to change.
So freely give over the dev tools, say Bethesda with their modding tools and stuff like that.
You might not even necessarily need to do that, because people have been able to do that with games forever. Or we could also, here's a thought, I know this is going to sound crazy, we could just go back to the old way we used to do video games, where servers were a thing you could just do.
Well, I'm, the big retro fan and history buff, so yeah, I'm always going to the conservative, hey, why don't we just do the thing that they used to do before the internet and greed got involved?
I'd even be willing to concede that, obviously that's going to be a big pushback from every publisher on the planet, but the way that you make it work is that you just have that be the back end. Mm-hmm. That we, the player, can't access until the game is sunset. Again,
we're asking for the bare minimum so that the product that was paid for is no longer a rock, a brick in your games library.
Exactly, yeah.
And, well, the movement is basically dead. They needed, I believe, 1 million signatures on a petition with the EU to get governments to look at it and start...
petitions, yes.
Yeah, so they didn't make a policy or anything. They just they have a counter proposal, and they wanted policymakers to actually, look into this, learn about the games industry, make a decision about whether it was, unethical or anti-consumer, and then, follow through and make legislation.
I would say, if there's any one other thing I would agree with Pirate Software's point on, is I think that they could have done more for that petition. Because to be very clear, it doesn't need to be a law at this stage. It's just, the only goal of the petition is to get eyes on it, effectively.
Exactly.
I would still make the argument, I think that they could have, or Ross could have, put some more effort into clarifying the finer details of these things.
Well, you cannot be ultra-specific if you can't follow up with those ultra-specific plans. Well, again, it has to be the legislators that make the actual law.
Yeah, but I'm saying, explaining why some games can't be sunset properly, or whatever, would be an integral part of this, because I don't think the lawmaker would know what that would mean, generally speaking. And I don't mean that because, they don't play games or anything, just because... It's higher tech stuff that you and I don't even really know.
I don't think they need to explain that, because the policies stop killing games, not bring all games back from the dead. Again, you can just start making games so that they can be sunset properly.
I agree. I'm not saying that you can't. I just think that there could have been more clarification. Mm-hmm. That's all I really saying. That's all I am trying to say, I should say. But those are the only 2 points that Pirate Software made on this content that I have to agree with.
The thing is that I saw the montage of Pirate Software, calling the entire thing dog shit and how much he hated it and how it was awful. And maybe he made a couple of good points, but he also made a lot of really bad points. He
made
also
a lot
made
of really bad points.
Of completely inaccurate and completely false points.
And he was a dick.
He was a massive dick about it. And he just, openly campaigned against it. Mm-hmm. Also, there's rumors that he's got his own, live service game that he's putting out or something like that. Okay, I saw a comment on Reddit, and I'm like, I'm going to have to ask about that because I couldn't find it.
There's 2 points I want to make to what you said. One, the comment of him, saying this is dog shit and everything, that compilation is taken over, a 12-hour live stream.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to defend him a little. Who's getting hate the entire live stream, and I'm not going to pretend that ultimately matters, because in the sense it's kind of his responsibility to deal with that as the streamer. But I think it's fair to make the point that if you're getting beaten down for hours with little snide comments about what you're saying, it's going to affect your mood. And I'm not saying that's as a he deserves to be pitied for it because he was still a dick about it.
He was contacted directly by Ross.
Yes.
Who said, these are the things that are inaccurate. Do you want to talk about this so I can
And he said no.
these things? And he said, no, I don't want to listen to you. And then he went on and continued
Yes.
bashing it.
I'm not going to defend him.
At a certain point, I don't care about those, the little things that he got right or the little, defenses because,
if you're unwilling to have a conversation about it,
exactly,
it's difficult to give a shit about your position.
Well, he didn't want to have a conversation about it. He just wanted to project his own opinions, and
Yep.
he did that louder than anybody else. And the other issue that came down to it was that nobody was actually supporting the Stop Killing Games movement.
No.
Nobody actually cared. It got a lot of, lip service. A lot of people said that they cared about it, but most of them were like me in that they kind of followed it through Reddit headlines, and that's about it.
Well, you also got to consider that I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that it's a EU specific. We can't.
No. I don't think that if there were people from the U.S. involved that they would have gotten shit done. No, they wouldn't.
I'm not saying that. I'm thinking that we got more signatures.
The issue is that they needed an actual organization. They needed leadership. They needed people getting involved. They needed a campaign. They needed a marketing campaign. One of the big issues is that Ross apparently didn't want to take donations in order to do advertising because he didn't feel comfortable about the logistics of it. He's a single person and a YouTuber, and it's well, okay, if you don't want to actually push your movement, then it's not going to go anywhere. And the thing is that he was the only one pushing at all, apparently.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I know Asmongold talked about it, and he was also for it, but Asmongold is a very American.
Well, it's
individual.
Just people talking about it. Lots of people talked about it, but nobody actually got involved. Nobody actually did the legwork. It's a real problem with organizing people in politics today is that everybody has an opinion, everybody wants to talk, nobody gets out on the street and actually does stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's tragic because then you can have someone who is just completely wrong about something just be the loudest voice and have that dominate the conversation. Arguably what Ross should have done was turn it into a fucking YouTube drama war because that would have gotten eyes on the whole campaign.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to do that. He didn't do it until...
Because he's trying to be a bigger, better person, and it's I totally get your point of view, but if you...
That doesn't get shit done.
You want your movement to work,
Well, I don't blame him. I feel bad. No, he had no support. Nobody actually stepping up and helping.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be the leader of the movement. He was just the only person who was willing to take any steps at all.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about is as Pirate Software goes.
Mm-hmm.
You made the point that he has a live service game.
Yeah, what's the deal there? Because I saw a single Reddit comment, and now I kind of even regret bringing it up.
So he is a part of Ludwig's off-brand game studios.
Mm-hmm.
He is the director of strategy or something like that. At the beginning of the movement, he was just a guy who worked there, and he was working on Rivals 2 or Rivals Aether 2.
Okay.
It's kind of live servicey in the fact that you can do microtransactions, but you also don't need to be online to play it.
Okay, that's kind of important for the...
Yes, for the context of everything. So you could just play the game if it got sunset.
There's a lot of the games that are always online. Do you remember when SimCity was coming out and the first time they were doing the always online thing? Because always online games are a lot more popular now, but just a few years ago, when developers were first pushing them out, there was huge backlash. And one of them was for SimCity by EA was going to be always online, and they wound up just tanking that game. It's why City Skylines blew up.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, but at this point now, because I wanted to make the point that when he started this, when this whole movement started and he started talking about it, he was a fully paid employee. At this point, he only takes minimum wage to work there.
Well, he's still a paid employee.
Yes,
the fact that it's minimum wage
there's actually a difference because at one point during the development of Off-Brand, part of the studio got shut down because they couldn't afford to keep it going. He took a pay cut as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a slightly important thing, but I wanted that to be mentioned because he only talks about the fact that he gets made minimum wage because legally he has to.
Yeah, you have to talk about it.
But like, I think you need to pick both points. That, well, you were paid fully when you started this, and then you didn't mention it in either of the videos. And like, sure, they're both games that are not technically live service, but like, they are also, and you didn't at least point out this connection, which I don't particularly like.
To take the spotlight off of pirate software and just like an issue with the games industry, the state of the internet, and like politics in general. Like, the problem is that it's very, very easy to just lie and get away with it.
Oh, yeah.
You can just say something completely false, and then it is up to the person accusing you of lying to do all the work proving you wrong. And in the meantime, the lie can be repeated and amplified, and so on.
Yeah, it's insane in the age of the internet when everybody has a phone, that window into infinite knowledge.
But the thing is that infinite knowledge is being completely fucking blocked out by so much goddamn noise.
Exactly.
There is
includes
so
bullshit.
much info, both correct and incorrect. It's like the entire internet is just a tabloid section at the front of the supermarket.
Yeah.
And maybe there's like a single like reputable publication somewhere in the middle of that fucking gigantic library of garbage. But if you're not the informed person, you don't know about it.
Yep.
And then if you are the informed person, how the fuck are you going to try to get everybody else to realize that this is the only fucking thing that's actually, you know, a reputable source when they just see the giant library of fucking noise?
Or actually just the headlines.
Exactly, because you, like Reddit comments, you just see Reddit headlines, you go straight to the comments section, nobody fucking reads the damn articles.
Nope.
Well, you expect like 2 people to read the articles, and they're the ones that are informing everybody as to what's going on in the comments section, and they frequently get shit wrong, telephone style.
Yep.
It's awful. And like, in terms of the games industry, that's kind of a small thing. In terms of real world politics, it's really fucking scary.
Yeah, especially with the advent of, not to get too deep into it, but AI.
Yeah, right? Well, I'm partially hoping that AI has made stuff so awful that it's going to, you know, we're just going to have to wipe the slate clean and go back to fresh start. Because you can't.
That'd be kind of hype.
A lot of people don't feel like they can trust anything they see at all anymore. You can't trust anything that's written because you don't know if it was written by a human or a robot. You can't trust images anymore because AIs can just generate a completely fake image from nothing. It's not even like Photoshop. They can just make it from nothing because that's how it works.
Literally just bop, there's a picture, there's a picture of the most horrifying thing you've ever seen.
You can't even trust video evidence anymore because of deepfakes.
Even past deepfakes, there are like AI video, like with Google's specific AI thing, crazy now, dude. You can make like real things that look so ridiculously real, it's unfair.
So
Instagram is insane right now.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So
I've never been an Instagram guy.
I don't
fucking
really
hate the website.
I don't go on it super often, but occasionally if I'm bored, I'll scroll through. Like half of the videos are AI. Or they're pretending to be AI.
Like that's a thing too. Yeah, I see that.
Or they're like doing a thing where they are AI, but it's a real person who's using AI to like change how they look. It's just insane.
And when you do recognize it, because plenty of people do recognize it as just being garbage, but that's when you can't tell the difference between the garbage and the real stuff, so you tune it all out, and you just become apathetic and you just ignore it all. And that's where most people are.
Old people can't tell what AI is.
No, well, old people aren't the ones that are ruining the game industry. Like
that's true.
Like, we can blame the boomers on almost everything, but
except that one. They tried.
The last time the boomers cared about the games industry was when fucking Jack Thompson was, you know, claiming that they were turning our children into murdering Satanists, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, he was proven to be a piece of shit, and that was the end of it. Now the biggest threat to the games industry is the games industry and gamers. Yeah.
So that stopped killing games. I don't know, if you're like I was imagining if it'd be pretty funny if, like, one of the people who, like, because we get, like, 17 views a video.
Oh, yeah? And I know we have, like, 20 subscribers.
Yeah, well, that's different. But, like, we get, like, 17 views a video, and they can't all be our friends, right? I'm imagining...
Like, send, subscribe, people.
Yeah,
Let's get those numbers up.
Let's do that. I like to imagine that at least one of them is just some dude like who's like Dutch and he likes to just watch 2 like fat Americans talk.
This Dutch guy. It's Starting Topic, my favorite podcast.
He's trying to show it to his friends, and they're like, "That looks terrible."
What is UFO 50, and why is that fat redhead so obsessed with it?
Oh no, the other one's getting there. Shit.
Okay. Do you want to talk about UFO 50 now?
Yeah.
We
Also,
had this up on the screen the whole time.
I was like, this will be a good backdrop, and then we did the beginning of this where I was like, it's not a UFO 50 podcast, and I looked over, and I'm like, fuck.
I was gonna say, did you double check to make sure the box isn't blocking the screen?
Well, it is. I mean, it's blocking the screen, but
Oh, but you have the screen superimposed over.
yeah, little in between the sauce. Look, you can see it. It's pretty good.
Nice.
I mean, they can't. But
They
don't
can't
need
see
to.
it. We can see that.
This is my library. It's fairly sparse.
So for our viewers, you can see how it's a bunch of floppy disks with images on them. Most of them are blue, a few of them are gold, and 3 of them are red.
Yeah.
The blue represents, any games that you've
Started.
played, which you've started all of them.
Yeah.
Gold are the ones that you've beaten, and red being the ones that you've extra beaten with achievements or whatever.
Yeah, and this is just mine recently. I was playing after last week. I actually went to Ben's house and we played UFO 50 together.
Yeah, we finally did some multiplayer.
Yeah, we did Bushido Ball, which we ended up cherrying on yours just by sheer mistake.
Because we did a co-op where we just completely destroyed the computers, and it turns out when you do co-op, you only have to play 3 matches instead of 6, so it's twice as easy.
Oh, that's so much better.
Yeah, if you want help cherrying it, I'll come over and we can do that.
Because I didn't know that was like that easy.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, and then after that, I went home and I started watching Northern Lion play UFO 50, and I was like, damn, I want to play UFO 50 now. And I did that instead of playing Mountain Blade.
One thing I've realized is that, okay, so I get burnt out when I play games. It's just
Oh,
something
yeah.
that happens. Like, I will do something huge, and I'm like, okay, I need to take a break, and then I'll step away from it.
And never come back.
And never come back, yeah. Or I won't come back until the next day. And, like, I don't do those, like, marathon sessions like I did when I was a kid. Like, I see lots of people do now. Well, like, I see lots of younger people do.
Yeah, when they're kids,
When they were kids. When they were in their 20s.
I used to beat Sly Cooper 3 like once a week.
I used to beat Metroid Fusion every day.
Yeah.
But, well, that's under 2 hours, so that never counts.
I knew a dude who used to do the same thing with Borderlands 2.
Borderlands 2 in a day. That's nuts.
He would do it in an hour.
Fucking, that's impressive. Well, I don't know anything about Borderlands speedrunning. Now I'm gonna have to look this up when I get home. UFO 50, like, I get burnt out on whatever game I'm playing. I can
just play another game.
Exactly. It's so easy to swap. And it's like, okay, well, I need a break from fucking Caramel because my fucking thumbs hurt. Let's play some Party House.
Yeah, let's play some Party House. I have not gotten deeper into Party House.
Dude, get deeper. Party House is my most played game entirely by accident.
I watched Northern Lion play it. It looks really cool, but I just haven't gotten deeper into it yet. It's also a really good mention of Party House with the game we've got here.
Quacksaquedlinburg.
We'll mention that later.
Another thing on the UFO 50 subreddit that I found was all the users voted on what games these ones are most similar to.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them are video games except Party House, where it's just like Quacksaquedlinburg.
Yep.
That's what it is.
That's weird, because you'd think like a couple of these would be like more like board games.
A lot of their opinions were bad, in my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, that last time, I don't know what I said that I cherried last time or beat last time. But last time I was here, I beat Pilot Quest, I beat Warp Tank, and I beat this one. Wait, I'm pointing. Why am I pointing? That doesn't help at all.
Yeah, they can't see your hand.
There's a hand. There's no hand there.
There's no hands.
I beat Pilot Quest. I beat Warp Tank. I beat Lord of Disconia, and then I beat the Night Manor one.
Night Manor is... I can't wait to actually delve into that one. I'm hoping, like, by the time I get there, it'll be October, and I'm just gonna play it at nighttime with headphones on.
I have no idea what the cherry for that is, because I did it incidentally.
According to the description, like, they have Escape the Killer, which I did that for the gift, and then Escape the Manor, and then Escape, like, the Nightmare or something like that. I'm like, I have no idea what that means, but I'm assuming that there is a bad ending and a good ending, and the cherry just means get the good ending.
The fucking idea, I just did it. And then in between last week and this week, I managed to get Paint Chase. I beat Paint Chase. Paint Chase is probably not very good. I don't know how you feel about it, but like I beat it.
So I have... Okay, I guess I'm going to get into my review.
Yeah, do you want to get into your review right quick? Let's go ahead and move over to the tier list.
So this week I'm reviewing Ninpek, which as you can see I consider pretty good.
which is crazy because I do not like Ninpek.
You don't like Ninpek?
No, I don't like that kind of game.
Okay, well, we'll get into that. But I beat Ninpek a while ago. I beat it last week, in fact, when I was reviewing Bug Hunter. And I've been trying to get ahead of it, so I've got a bunch of beaten games, so I don't have to worry about any of those super long ones and not having a review ready.
Yeah.
Except I can't stop thinking about those later games. So I've already gotten reviews for Paint Chase and a Tacticus and everything in my head, and it's been hard for me to think about just Ninpek because I beat it a week ago.
Yeah.
That said, it is finally time to talk about Ninpek. I fucking adore Ninpek. I think Ninpek a goddamn great game. It's a shame that it's not your kind of thing, but I get that.
My issue with it is I'm really bad at it.
Well, yeah.
So I'm I'll go through a level and I'll just die because I'm not very good at it, and then I will lose, and that'll be the whole game. And I'll do that for 4 hours.
All right. So, Ninpek, according to the in-game story, was developed in 1983, and I accidentally never wrote down who the fake developers were, but I do have the actual developer. It was Eirik Shirk again, the same guy who made Barbuda.
Gotcha.
I looked a little bit more into him specifically. Like I said before, he was mostly known for doing music. He only exclusively ever did music before
Barbuda.
Okay. And he is one of 3 developers who developed most of the games on UFO 50. And Barbuda and Ninpek, he did entirely by himself.
Neat.
Ninpek, it's the music guy. Should probably point out, has some fucking awesome music.
I'd say that, yeah.
Super, super catchy. It's this kind of a silly, almost Japanese style music, but it's super funky. And they do this trick where I think it's a game that's hard, and you end up dying over and over and over again, having to restart. And I think that the music changes sometimes. I don't think it's a different track. I think it's one long track that has 2 melodies, a halfway melody that kind of changes it up.
Right.
And it'll start from that halfway point sometimes in order to make it less annoying when you have to restart over and over and over again.
An intentional thing like that. That'd be pretty cool.
I'm focusing too much on the music and all that. So, Ninpek. Ninpek is it looks like a platformer shooter.
Yeah.
But it's a little more interesting than that. It's another one of those games that reflects the time that it was supposedly developed in, but is actually way more innovative than any of the games that ever came out then.
Right.
In Ninpek, you play as a ninja who was enjoying a sandwich that was then stolen by an evil octopus. And now he is chasing that octopus literally to the end of the world in order to get revenge. Not just a sandwich back, because he's going to end up eating a lot of sandwiches along the way.
Yeah.
But, fuck that octopus for stealing my goddamn sandwich.
It's my sandwich.
The game is really fucking hard, in my
opinion. Yeah. I agree.
One thing I noticed, there's a secret thing about action games that I think a lot of gamers kind of intuit but don't realize, is that they're actually easier when you play them faster. If you are a non-gamer versus a gamer playing Mario Brothers, you can tell the difference because one person holds in the run button most of the time.
Yeah.
Where the other one walks. The thing is that Mario's easier when you run.
I can give a more recent example. Escape from Tarkov.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways to play Escape from Tarkov, at least there were when I got into it. Ratting, which is just running around and hiding and getting all the loot and everything. And then chatting, which is going super apeshit every time and you hit killing everyone and being loud as hell.
Wow, okay.
Chatting worked the whole time. It's kind of always been the superior way to play, but the developers have made it more so, which has been a whole thing. But that's the same exact concept. If you go faster and you're more aggressive, you actually do better, because when it's a tactical shooter, so people expect when you're in a fight with them that you're going to be bap, bap, slipping in and out of cover. But in actuality, if you just run at them, they don't expect it. It goes out of their brain, and then you win. Same general concept. Speed is the key.
Exactly. For terms of old games like Mario and Ninpek, all of these things are almost timed out so that when you get to certain, in a platformer, you're running forward, you have to make a jump onto a platform. There's an enemy on the platform.
Yep.
The enemy walks. So when you get there and where the enemy is when you want to make the jump affects it drastically. Typically, it'll make it so that if you walk there, it'll be in a very shitty position, where if you run there, you can make the jump very easily because he hasn't, gotten in your way yet.
Yeah.
That's just very basic design. And it also keys into what makes games fun. They want to motivate you to play riskier, to play, in a more exciting way, because there's that risk-reward feeling that makes you have fun, that makes the experience, worthwhile. The thing about Ninpek is that speed you have to play at in order to make the game easier, not harder,
is capped.
It's insanely fast. You have to be fucking quick. This is an auto-scroller where the enemies are just constantly coming at you.
Yep.
And all of them are perfectly lined up so that their projectiles will hit the spot right in front of the other guy that you want to land on in order to shoot, or aimed exactly at the angle you want to jump at. Like, Eric Shirk is definitely a Mario Maker player. He has definitely made horrible fucking levels that I've hated playing. There's like no way. Like, this is someone who has meticulously laid out this level and placed all the little enemies and then demoed it over and over again so that he could line up like every single thing to be in the most difficult, annoying spots.
Because he's evil.
Maybe. He did make Barbuda.
Yes.
In terms of innovation, Ninpek is interesting. Like I said, it is a shooter, and it's not one like Contra, where it's like a side-scrolling platformer. It's more like a classic, more like a Gradius style.
Yeah.
A horizontal, like a shoot 'em up. It's a shoot 'em up more than it is a platformer. It looks like a platformer. It isn't actually a platformer. If that makes any sense.
You got a platform, but yeah.
Kind of. The thing is that, like, how do I put this? So the closest game that Reddit said it was a Capcom game named Sun, and I looked that one up. Sun, you play as like Sun Wukong. It's like a Journey to the West kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
classic.
There's rows of platforms, and enemies, come from the platforms, and you bounce up and down amongst them and shoot down at them.
Oh, kind of like the old racing games where you have to weave in and out of traffic. You only got like certain lanes.
Exactly. And that's different from, because like most old shooters, almost all of them you play as a spaceship and you're firing at aliens, so you're just flying around. Yeah, Galaga's a top-down, or vertical, not horizontal, but
same concept.
Ninpek, you bounce around, you walk around, you jump, you double jump, but he's got such like a free range of movement that you can get anywhere on the screen as fast as a spaceship flying around in, a classic shooter. It's not like Contra where you can hold still and enemies are going to keep on, randomly generating and you have to deal with that. Since this is an auto-scroller, everything is preset. There is no randomness at all. The game is clockwork. The closest thing to randomness are enemies that are designed to, react to you.
Yep.
Ones that follow your movements and stuff like that. And those ones can be defeated by
snakes.
Playing like clockwork. Yeah, those fucking snakes. But if you play the exact same way every single time, then you're always going to be able to deal with them the exact same way every single time.
Yep.
It's just that you have to do that really fucking fast.
It's creating a route, which that's the thing I like about it, to be fair, because I'm a huge fan of Teardown, so I don't know even about that.
I don't know about Teardown.
Oh. The idea is you're on a map, it's voxel-based, you have to destroy stuff.
Okay.
But if you destroy one thing, a timer will start. So what you're actually doing, the 90% of the match, is you're getting on the level, you're figuring out the best possible way if you get from point to point to point to point to point in a certain amount of time, and then you're building and breaking stuff in order to be able to get to that point.
Okay.
It's really dope. It's a really good game.
And so what I wanted to point out was Ninpek, and you can tell me if that is similar. So Ninpek, the entire skill base, well, besides the execution, but it's based more on memorization than anything else.
Yep.
The game is always going to play out the same way. All the enemies work like clockwork, except when they respond to your movements, and you can always, you can retrace your steps every single time in order to make it work the same way. And a lot of people don't like level memorization, but a lot of people like Ninpek. Like, Ninpek is probably the first game I saw lots of streamers really enjoying.
Yeah.
Like, it's the first one Northern Lion played. It was the first one that Donkey enjoyed, Golded, and Cherried, I believe.
Yeah, and it's all that specific, because, I can see the beginning path in my head. You go, you fight the first snake, then you jump up, you get all these guys, you turn around, you get the Campanella dude, and you go on the other side, you get the other Campanella. It's like, I can see the whole thing in my head. See the first level. And, that is the part that's really good about it. It's just that, for me, dying feels so devastating, because I feel like I'm the problem every time, because I am the problem every time.
I'm the kind of person, when I played games as a kid, it was always skill-based games, where in order to make progress, you had to preserve lives and had to play as perfectly as possible to earn extra lives. Because when you get to those later levels where you don't know what's going on, you can't practice them, you just need to rely on those lives.
Yeah.
I should also point out that NINPEC is really, really smartly balanced. Almost all of the games in UFO 50 do this, but like if you got a hardcore action game that doesn't have a save system like NINPEC, where they expect you to beat the entire thing in one go, the hardest levels are actually the first levels.
Yeah.
Specifically, I would say like each level is kind of split into two parts, and is then separated by this like section where they give you like 1,000,000 cherries, which give you points. The second half of the first part and the first half of the second part is the hardest section of the game by far.
Yep.
Then the second half of the second part is ridiculously easy. Like there is practically no enemies you have to deal with at all. It's like a freebie. And then you go into the final level, and that's like medium difficulty. At that point, like you don't get to practice that because you have to go through the entire front half of the game first. But it's not that bad. It's not as sadistic as those first levels. And the thing about the first level is you're going to play that so many times that that's going to be the one that you memorize. You already did memorize it, and you don't even like the game that much.
Yeah, that's fair.
I personally like level memorization as a skill to exercise in video games. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's one of those things that, like, I don't want to brag, but it's one of those things that I think I do without thinking, ever, like, every time. And I, like, to the point, I mean that, like, almost instantly. I think it might be due to the fact that I played a lot of Siege. So I don't know if you know anything about Siege, which you probably don't.
Tell me about Siege.
Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. It is not a Rainbow Six game. It is a game, okay, it is, but it isn't. It's a game where 5v5 people, 5 people are inside of a house or a building, and 5 people try to attack those 5 people. The whole thing, like the biggest and most important detail of this game is map memorization. If you can memorize the map, you basically can win every game. Because if your enemy doesn't know it as well as you do, you will just fucking win.
I think that's I think that's true a little bit to a lot of multiplayer, because I remember back when I first played Halo on the PC, because I used to hate shooters and I used to hate multiplayer. And it's mostly because I would be invited over to my friend's house, and we would, like, do a multiplayer Halo game where there would be, like, 3 of us playing, and we just do a death match, and then I would get my ass kicked by people who know the game, know the map, know the weapons, know everything about it. Whereas I'm like, I can't even control movement and shooting at the same time. This is the first time I've ever done dual analog.
Interestingly, that's actually how I started the game too, but mine was Halo 3. But like the attitude that my friends have were, yeah, you do suck right now, but we keep playing, you'll get better.
Well, that was their attitude. I was the one with the bad attitude. I'm like, I don't want to play this. I just want to play Smash Brothers. I just want to play Smash Brothers.
Well, I just kind of took it as stride, and I got better.
I eventually just got my own copy of Halo, and playing it at my own pace makes such a big fucking difference.
I completely agree with that.
Playing through the campaign of Halo for the first time turned me around. I'm like, this is one of the best games ever made.
One minor thing to add on to Siege is that the reason I would say the map knowledge in that is so important additionally is because they have a lot of throughway areas where you can shoot through walls. So, like, knowing exactly what angles you can get to through these walls to get to enemies is, like, super important. But yeah, that's, like, my thought on that. And then Teardown's another good example for that, because knowing the map or even just getting a good grasp of what you need to do, that's, like, the whole fucking game. It's literally, like, you have a bunch of tools that you can make, like, bridges and shit, and you got to do this and that, and you just got to learn how to properly make it work.
For people who bitch about level memorization, who are actively against it, I usually feel like they don't know what they're talking about. I
don't understand. I've never encountered somebody like that. I don't go on Reddit nearly as much as you do.
I had actually a personal friend who I had a lot of arguments with specifically.
Oh.
But also on Reddit, also on YouTube, like certain, like, you know, people who talk about, because at a certain point, like, being a game design analyst became a subsection of YouTube.
Yeah.
And the thing about that is that there is no, like, formal academic, like, backing behind that. That is literally just YouTubers playing games, analyzing their own thoughts about it, and, like, talking about it. And it's interesting because, like, you take a creator like Matthew Matosis, who is very cerebral about it, like, really, really thinks very hard about the design and the effects of, like, the movement and stuff. And that I find really, really compelling. And then you've got Joe Schmo who just said, oh, well, I don't like Tetris because it's boring.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, not everyone is qualified to talk about this. But technically nobody is.
It's totally fair to not like Tetris. That's fine.
That's fine, but like Tetris is a perfect game whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Level memorization, like, they usually comes down to whether they feel it's fair. And like people don't like games that are too hard for them.
Yeah.
And I am someone who is capable of just accepting that some games are too hard for me. Usually they're very old games. Like Dark Souls is the modern, standard that everything is compared to, but I've always considered Dark Souls very easy compared to most of the games I grew up with.
Dark Souls is super easy in comparison to Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, well, Dark Souls, yeah, but that's an entire thing. We're gonna have to do like just a FromSoft discussion.
I'm just gonna shit on Elden Ring.
Just shit on Elden Ring?
I love Elden Ring. It's actually a really amazing game. I could talk hours about how good it is, but there's stuff I could talk about that I hate about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm doing it. The thing I hate most about Elden Ring, that I think everybody hates, is that like there are fights where you don't do anything for long periods of time.
Yeah, because the enemies are just playing this
They're doing their animation.
Extended attack animation.
I think it's Melina, the sword person, the person that let me solo her beats.
Blade of Miquella.
Yeah.
Blade of Miquella.
Something like that. I literally, dude, I got to her fight, and I hit her, and then she started an animation, and I got out of the way, and it just was like literally, unironically, unabashedly, 5 to 6 or 7 seconds of this animation. And I'm just like, I do not want to play this anymore.
This is when my old man conservative ass is like, games were better when the bosses only had 3 different attacks and they were all just variations of swing horizontal or swing vertical.
I think there's a good middle ground you can do.
Yeah, well, it's called the game's... Well, it depends. I don't think Elden Ring is good for its combat. I think it's good for its world, if that makes any sense,
Maybe.
Like, it's weird how you can take these games that have the same DNA and have the same formula, but they end up having different appeals. Like, there is a reason why certain people are always going to prefer Bloodborne over Dark Souls or Sekiro or Elden Ring, because they're all doing different things better than each other,
Yeah, like Sekiro's a rhythm game. Bloodborne is goth, and then you've got Dark Souls, which is classic.
Mm-hmm. I'm more complicated than that, but I appreciate your summation.
Sometimes you gotta go simple.
Let's finish up the Ninpek discussion.
Fuck Ninpek.
No, I love Ninpek. Ninpek is fantastic.
Nice, chill,
I think
good.
most people who will get into UFO 50 will
probably
probably
like
enjoy
Ninpek.
Ninpek a lot. That seems to be the case for most
I just
of
find it so stressful.
It's difficult. It is a difficult, hardcore arcade shooter action game.
All right.
I put it in A tier, and on my personal list, I also put it above Bug Hunter, so it is at the top of the list right now.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely better than Bug Hunter.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it more than Bug Hunter, but I also suspect that most people would enjoy it more than Bug Hunter. The last thing I forgot to mention, there's just a tiny little mechanical detail that I wanted to bring up because I think it's so clever.
Yeah.
So the power-up system, the way Ninpek works is, in order to get points, you have to kill enemies and then collect the item that they drop. Like, killing the enemy by itself won't always do it. Sometimes they drop a little ninja star.
Yep.
Do you know what that does?
My interpretation was that it increased the speed of your shurikens.
Kind of. So I just wanted to talk about a little bit of games history, trivia. You know how Space Invaders very famously works because of a glitch?
I did not know that.
Okay, so for Space Invaders, the classic game, you play as a little tank who has to fire at a row of aliens that slowly come down from the top of the screen.
There's a Futurama episode about it.
There is a Futurama episode about it. So the hardware could not actually run the fucking game.
Interesting.
It plays super, super slow, chugging along when you first start because there's so many sprites on the screen.
Yeah.
As you kill the enemies,
it
faster. Reduces the sprite count, which makes the game run faster, which naturally increases the difficulty.
I understand. Okay,
that's the lightning in the bottle that made Space Invaders one of the most popular games in Japan. That blew up, is the reason why we have video games industry today.
That's okay. I got you more. I understood that. I didn't know that was a glitch.
Yeah. So glitches like that have when they work, they end up translating into design. I just love shit like that. So another classic one is a limit on how many sprites you could display on the screen itself.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of old hardware would specifically have like the NES specifically could not have more than 3 sprites on any horizontal axis.
Oh.
So like if you had like take an RPG like Dragon Quest with like a bunch of characters following you around, you could have your little guy and he would have a little guy following him and then a third one following him and it would be fine. But if a fourth one was following them and they were all lined up on the same plane, then 2 of them would flicker in order to preserve that limitation, where one is always on screen while the other one disappears and the other one, appears and the other one flickers.
Yeah.
And on old CRT displays, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, because they're CRTs.
So when you're playing an action game and you're firing projectiles in front of your character to shoot the enemies, those are sprites that are going to act as limitation. You can only have so many projectiles on screen at once. That turns into a really interesting balancing mechanic. Because if you are far away and you can only have one shot on screen, then you have to wait a really, really, really long time before you can fire a second shot.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're right up next to the enemy, you can mash the button ultra fast and just lay into them and kill them.
Yeah.
But being next to the enemy means you can get
higher
hit
risk
by them. Exactly. And that's how Ninpek works. You have to get right up in their face and you mash that ninja star in order to kill them.
Yeah.
Most enemies die in either 1, 2, or 3 hits. The water snakes that are the bitch take 3 hits.
Yeah.
And that feels like a million hits when you're trying to go as fast as possible. What the projectile does is it just lets you have more or what the ninja star does is it lets you have more projectiles on the screen and therefore lets you fire twice as fast.
Okay, yeah. That's kind of what I thought. That's interesting.
If you ever play like old games where you're like, I don't know what this power up does, it's usually that. Like Castlevania, like there's like a little 1, 2, and 3 power ups that you can get. And what that does is it just lets you throw more sub weapons on screen at a time.
Okay. Neat. That's a neat way of putting it. I like the history behind that.
I'm all about the history.
Yeah, apparently. So Ben, this is your library.
Yeah. So I have beaten several more games, but I've only cherried 3 and completely different games than what you've cherried.
Yeah. I'm surprised that you cherried Magic Garden. Magic Garden has been a struggle for me.
I cannot wait to talk about Magic Garden.
It's close. We got to talk about Paint Chase first.
Yeah, Paint Chase is an interesting one.
It's neat. It's like Splatoon, but not.
But not.
Also, interestingly, when I was playing Paint Chase, because I also golded that one, that was the one that was chugging my computer the most, which confused the fuck out of me.
That's really weird. I wouldn't think any of these games would do that.
Neither would I, but every once in a while, Paint Chase would kind of like flicker a bit and then like mess stuff up, and I'm like, huh.
Wild.
I also wanted to talk about Lord Disconia again.
Let's just talk about it real quick, and then let's stop talking about UFO 50.
Because Lord Disconia, is my favorite game of the whole thing. I'm pretty sure. Fistel's pretty fun.
You like Fistel?
I started playing that one recently. I was like, that's pretty good.
Nice. Okay, we're gonna have to multiplayer that one then.
But Lord of Disconia, I fucking love Lord of Disconia, and I cherried it. And I don't know, you've really played it. Have you done much with it beyond what we did?
Well, we did a full multiplayer match.
We did do a full multiplayer match. So have you played the campaign though?
Yeah, I've played a bunch of the campaign.
Okay.
I played enough to get the gift, so I played several levels. I also read a couple of guides because I wanted to get better at it because I find it kind of tricky.
So I don't know if you've ever played the streak mode.
No. What's streak mode?
Streak mode is how you get the cherry. You have to complete a streak of 3, so you have to beat 3 maps effectively.
Okay.
Fucking impossible.
Most of the cherry requirements feel like that.
No, that one's borderline actually impossible because the AI,
Says the guy who did it.
The AI cheat.
Yeah, they can line everything up with perfect accuracy and perfect angles.
It's just like they're doing shit that's fucking crazy. They're like bouncing. I remember I played one game and I was like, I have like a full team and they have like 3 people, and they just took one of their dudes and he knocked it into my whole team and he took out 4 of my people. And I was like, how do you even do that? I had to restart.
Yeah, that is always going to be my problem with competitive games where you're playing against AI.
Yep.
Is that the AI can typically be programmed to play it perfectly, and in order to make it fun, that requires so much more work from the developers of like very, very carefully designing the computers to mess up in specific ways.
I think the computers do mess up in this occasionally too, but like it takes a while. But I did manage a chariot, and I was pretty proud of it.
Congratulations.
We also, no, never mind. I was gonna say we also tried Bushido Ball, but we mentioned that already.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's UFO 50.
For today. Next week, I will be talking about Paint Chase, and then after that, I will finally be able to talk about Magic Garden.
Oh my god. The freaking browser closed. So, Ben, I want to recommend you a manga.
A manga?
I think it's a manga. It might technically be a mahahahah, the Korean version of manga. I'm not actually sure. It's called Witch Hat. I can't remember what it is.
Atelier,
something like that. So this. Have you ever watched? That's not what I want to do. Open in new window.
Google makes it so difficult to just view images.
Well, it's because it's like there's like a law. It's not really entirely their fault.
I don't believe that's the case.
I'm almost certain that what happened. Like there was a big discussion about how Google is stealing ad rev from companies and websites by just
people don't actually go to the websites; they can just browse it on Google. The thing is if I were to believe that, then that would counter the whole AI thing, which goes out of its way to bypass other websites.
Open image in new app. I don't know. Oh my fucking god! All right.
So again, it's specifically the open image in new tab, and I will also point out that you just did that because you're using Opera browser. You can't do it on Chrome by default without a extension.
This is the worst experience ever.
Just trying to find a high resolution image.
I just want to find a good one.
Just find a search by resolution.
You can do
like
that?
Organize it. Yeah.
I accidentally did that. How do you do that?
So where are the search functions? I can't remember how this.
Tools. Type. This is gonna be interesting in a minute.
Just do large.
It'll be so interesting in a whole minute. All right. Open image in new tab. There we go.
The artwork reminds me a little bit of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance and a little bit of Octopath Traveler.
There is a specific artist who it reminded me of when I was reading it, but I cannot remember their name.
Well, I assume it's written and illustrated by the same person, because that's how typically our mangas work. Kuromi Shirahama?
Yep. No idea who that is.
They're the writer of Witch Hat oh my god.
Atelier.
Pronouncing everything wrong.
Dude, I don't understand why, but Atelier has been like a word that's been like present in manga and anime recently, gone crazy. It's been annoying the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Sidebar. Witch Hat Atelier. Have you ever watched Little Witch Academia?
No, you have talked about it though, and
Little Witch Academia
I might actually like that kind of thing.
Is the cutest thing in the world. It's just a little girl who doesn't have magic. She goes to a magic academy because she wants to learn how to do magic. And she struggles the whole way, and she's a fucking goof. It's great.
Okay.
Highly recommend. Witch Hat Altier, same concept, but it's like way more interesting, and the art's kind of better. So the idea in this like universe is that you can cast spells.
Okay.
Anyone can. You just need a specific kind of ink, and you need to be able to draw like certain circles.
Okay, so it's got its own magic system.
But the laymen don't know that that's how that works. They all think that you have to be born special to be able to be a witch.
Ah, so it's kind of like being an intelligent person in real life.
Kind of.
People think it's like, oh, you have to be born intelligent. I'm like, no, you just have to pay attention in school.
Kind of, but in this case, they legitimately think that the only way to do it is to be born into it. Like the whole world, and that's intentional by the witches, because there was like a bunch of war and stuff and horrible things happening before. So they wanted to limit the use of magic so that it wasn't as prevalent.
Ooh, there's some political metaphors bubbling underneath the surface of that premise.
Yep, there sure are. And then the main character is somebody who accidentally stumbled in to being able to cast spells.
Mm-hmm.
They cast spells with their thing, and they unintentionally like trapped their mom in stone. So the options that were presented with like the Witches Academy in the world were to either erase their memories and like kind of let them be a regular person, or let them become a witch. And they became a witch, obviously. And the story and the concept is them growing into becoming a witch, dealing with the other characters within their atelier, and then dealing with the aftermath of knowing that anyone can do magic, but not being able to tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really good. I really recommend it.
Is it a medieval setting or like a past? Okay, and is it a school story? Like, does it take place like in school?
Not
or, like,
exactly.
In a magic school. Okay.
Yes and no. I mean, it's hard to say. A lot of times, I'd argue when there's like school stories in anime that they're school stories, because the vast majority of the time they're not in this fucking school anyway. Like even like My Hero Academia, it's like 2 seasons where they're in the school, and the rest of it's kind of like out there mostly.
So yeah, that is a good point.
This concept is like it's actually even like before schools are really prominent. Definitely, they're mostly in like a countryside dude's house who's just teaching them, and then they go to do other stuff and do adventures and whatnot.
Magical schools is like its own subgenre, ever since Harry Potter. That some people are really into.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of video games where that's the whole idea.
A bunch of video games, a bunch of animes, a bunch of shows and everything. And it's something that I've never personally cared about. It's like, why do you want to ruin my fantasy? This is escapism. This is fantasy. Why are you ruining this by putting me in school? School is bad. And there's like, no, this is for those kids who love school and love hanging out with their friends, and they think that kind of thing is fun.
Oh, I mean, also, I make the point, like, I don't like school either, but if school was learning how to fucking do magic, I'm down.
It would be much better, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I want the story to be about the heroes killing a bunch of monsters, Lord of the Rings style,
Yeah, well, I mean, they usually are that. They just happen to be...
I'm not actually criticizing the genre, just pointing out that, like, it is a thing that some people are fans of and some people aren't as big of fans of. Like, okay, really weird sidebar. Do you know the show Owl House?
No.
So Owl House is a cartoon on the Disney Channel that I checked out because...
Oh, wait, I do know the show. Go ahead.
Because Alex Hirsch, the creator of Gravity Falls, was slightly involved in it.
Yeah.
And I think Gravity Falls is an amazing show. He didn't make it or anything like that. I believe he just does some voice acting and like some producing for it.
Yeah.
But the show is good but really disappointing. Because the first episode, the pilot episode, offers a lot of promise of like this wacky, dark, morbid fantasy world. It's about like a girl who finds another dimension where it's fantasy and everyone's like a weird mutant or monster.
Yep.
And she meets a witch, and the witch offers to like teach her magic, so she stays behind in this weird fantasy world to learn magic. And then immediately starting from the second episode, the premise just changes into a magical school story.
Oh.
And the reason why, as it turns out, was because executives at Disney made the creator change her premise.
Oh.
And that, like, finding that out was really fucking upsetting. Because, like, the entire first season of the show is, in my opinion, just dog shit. And then
really?
The second season, starts off kind of bad, and then gets really good, and then it ends at the third season, and the third season is just, like, 3 extra long episodes that wrap up the story. And I'm like, this was ruined by Disney. I hate that.
Yeah, I watched that pilot episode, and I was actually quite excited for that show as well.
Oh, so you have seen it then?
Yeah, so I clarified I didn't remember it. I did watch it. Our mutual friend Macy recommended it to me.
Yeah, Macy likes it?
Yeah.
So, like, starting from the second episode, the main character almost changes, because she's, like, this weirdo outsider girl who, like, likes weird, gross stuff,
Yeah.
And then immediately in the second episode, like, she's trying to learn magic from the witch, and the witch takes her to like a weird alien fantasy space whale carcass on the beach, and she's like harvesting its organs, and it's super gross. And the main character's grossed out by this, and I'm like, wait, no, I thought you signed up for that. Like,
yeah.
I thought this was what you were excited for. It's like weird, gross magic stuff. And it's like, no, now I'm going to meet some friends, and we're going to go to a magic school, and it's going to be conventional and normal and a Harry Potter ripoff and bad.
And bad.
It's just bad. It starts off so bad. Like the one character, Gus. Oh my god, he's like he sucks so bad. He sucks so bad. He's so annoying. And then later on he becomes a good character, but you have to endure it for the first season, and I don't know if you should.
I mean,
it's not a good enough show to like fully recommend because it was ruined by Disney.
I watched the pilot. I was happy with that. I'll stick with that.
Alex Hirsch's character, my lisp is, this is why I hate listening to our podcast. I hate listening to my own voice. His character is the funniest character. He plays the Owl House. So, like, the house that the witch lives in is a living entity, and it is kind of like the Baba Yaga hut, where it's like a building that has like bird legs and the door has an owl face, and for some reason the face talks with a bad Mickey Mouse impression voice.
Like
done
Mickey
by
Mouse's
Alex
house.
Hirsch, and he is completely insane and completely unhinged, and he talks like Mickey Mouse, and he's really fucking funny.
Like Mickey Mouse's house.
I've never seen it.
The Clubhouse. You never seen Mickey Mouse Clubhouse?
No.
Nah, it wasn't very good. You wouldn't have liked it. It was like weird. It was in that era of like Disney or not? Is Mickey Mouse Disney? Yeah.
I refused to watch Disney Channel as a kid.
Yeah,
Like
no,
Cartoon Network had great cartoons.
It wouldn't have been on when you
Nickelodeon
was
had
a
great
kid.
cartoons, and then Disney Channel had Doug.
it wouldn't have been on when you were a kid.
No.
No, this was like during the era of 3D animation when it was like going crazy, like right after Shrek. So they made a 3D.
Oh,
Mickey
so I would
Mouse.
have been way too old for that.
Yeah, you would not have been able. You would not have been able, but you would have not like thought of that at all. Mouse. I was barely old enough to watch it. I guess I was actually older, but
I did watch random cartoons that I was too old for because I'd be too lazy to change the channel. Like I
Yeah.
watched a shockingly large number of episodes of Looney Tune Babies.
you ever get into-
Horrible show.
You ever get into
horrible-
Muppet Babies?
No, Muppet Babies rules.
Yeah.
Um,
Why?
search by image size, seriously.
Yeah, just you keep talking. We'll get there.
Muppet Babies is actually like really interesting and creative, and it's like was designed with like kids' education in mind. Like they wanted to like get kids to think about stuff creatively, which is why it's all about like them talking about movies and playing pretend and stuff.
Yeah.
Looney Tunes Babies is just fucking crap. It is just like rehashed version of old Looney Tunes gags, but redone because now they're babies. So like Baby Bugs and Baby Daffy are arguing over who gets to sit in the front, except they don't sit in the front, or I don't remember. They're arguing over something, and he does the you do this, you do that, and then Bugs does the turn around in the same way he does in that classic cartoon. That's the joke. Except this baby's doing it. Do you find the babies cute?
It sounds terrible.
It's really bad. I mean, most of the Warner Brothers Looney Tunes outings have been terrible.
Well, this is not that.
No, that's Disney.
This is Disney. This is Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. It's just third, like 3D rendered area of Mickey Mouse that was just not very good.
Well, what's it about?
I don't remember. That's my argument for why it's not very good.
So the Looney Tunes Babies was about all the Looney Tunes characters as babies, and for some reason, Grandma, the grandma that owns like Tweety and Sylvester, she's like their guardian.
Yeah.
And then they all play in a house together, and they do baby stuff. And it is a worse show than Muppet Babies, and it's a worse show than Rugrats. And I don't like babies anyway, so I don't know why I watch so many of this goddamn show.
I don't know.
Can we go back to talk about Witch Hat?
Yeah.
Why is it called Witch Hat Atelier? What's the Witch Hat part?
I don't. Well, that's actually the integral part of the story is that there's a difference between witches that have a like straight cap, straight up pointy hat, and people with brims.
Really?
Yes.
Why? What's the difference?
Well, the people that
I'm on Team Brim automatically.
I am too. But they're the bad guys.
They're the bad guys. How dare they? How dare they?
Well, so the one of the main conflicts and like points of the show or the manga, it's going to become a show, is the magic and how it was abused previously, and they didn't want to have that happen again. So they've removed the ability they have made it so that it's illegal to cast spells that will affect the body.
Okay.
That will change your mind, and they will massively alter like a landscape. These are the two like kinds of spells the three kinds of spells you can't do. The only exception is that the cops in this universe can wipe your memory.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with this is that it means, and it is directly said, healing magic exists,
but because that affects the body,
you can't do it.
Interesting, and it makes sense too.
Yeah,
because like they're basically banning medical technology because medical technology is in this universe was used so immorally, so badly.
Like it could be, yeah. And that's one of the big conflicts, especially near the not the end, but the most recent. This is the most recent volume, actually.
Volume 13.
Yeah. That's one of the bigger conflicts.
I really do like that art. That's the cover, I'm assuming.
Yes, that is the cover.
Could you find a screenshot of the actual like black and white paneling?
Here's one.
Oh, that's some good ink work.
I really can't remember when I was reading it what I was imagining in my head, but this reminded me of something specific. Let's see if we can open this in Open Image, new tab. See if it's big enough. Oh, that's way bigger than I thought it was gonna be. But yeah, here's like just a panel. This is the
I think that artwork looks fantastic.
This is This is the main character, and she's entering into the atelier for the first time. But yeah, no, it's really like I just think it's really interesting. I think you'll be interested in.
You know what's the trick to getting me to read a manga? There's a very, very easy trick, and I think Silas is the one who figured it out.
Okay.
You give me a physical book.
Okay.
And then I'll just read it.
I'd have to buy them, but I might. It's a really cool.
Well, I mean, I'll
story.
probably check it out because I will also read. I've read more comics and manga digitally than any person I know.
Yeah,
I used to have
true.
a massive collection of comics that I would read. Like I read through all of Sandman digitally before I ever had a physical copy of that.
Oh, that sucks.
And yeah, it sucks. It really strains the eyes. It's very limits like how, because I would be reading on my PC, meaning I've got to sit at my computer on my computer chair the whole time. This was I read that before cell phones were super common, or smartphones.
I read that because our mutual friend Aiden gave me his copies because he had the whole thing.
Exactly, like when you have a physical book, and I still love reading comics, especially physically, because you can go back and forth and you can look at the images and you can notice the little differences and stuff like that.
Yup.
Silas, our mutual friend Silas, gave me the first several volumes of Chainsaw Man, which, god damn, that's a fucking good manga.
Yeah, it's very fun. I like the show as well.
The show is fantastic. I mean, what's the studio?
Mappa?
Is it Mappa?
I don't know.
We've talked about it before. The anime studio that is just the best in the biz right now, the highest quality animation. They're doing all the biggest animes.
This is for not the anime.
Mappa. It is Mappa.
It is Mappa. Good guess. Got it. Yeah, that's what the whole conflict of this. I'm doing the hand thing again. This is the whole conflict of this is. It's about going over the efficacy of having hard and fast rules about doing something because you do it too much, it'll become a problem, versus the moment to moment, like you're a regular person and you just need to get your life fixed or your leg fixed, and you could do that with a spell if they could just let you do it.
So a little bit of the premise, you know what it kind of reminds me of? And I don't know why I keep thinking about it, but Full Metal Alchemist.
Kind of, I suppose.
Because, like, in the world of Full Metal Alchemist, technically, they go on. Alchemy is treated like magic by most of society, but the reality is that it is a measurable science that has a lot of documentation and that anybody can do so long as they are willing to do the work and research and all that.
Yeah, that was definitely within the first few episodes or issues. That was definitely a big part of it. Like the first episode is all about, or not the first episode. The first 3 episodes I think are all about Sun God Leto and all that shit, and that was all fake, obviously. Mm-hmm. But that's because the people of that town did not know that it's just a science.
Exactly, and they don't get too much into it, but it's always bubbling under the surface in Full Metal Alchemist. The world of that series is very interesting. There's this almost globally sized fascist government that controls everything, and all the alchemists are to be part of that government's military in order to actually do the thing they're doing. And most of the story revolves specifically around the Elric brothers' struggles, but what's going on in the world is, in my opinion, the interesting part of that series.
Yeah, it's fascinating because it's what do you mean? What do you mean that people just don't know what fucking carbon is?
Yeah, and what is this country at war with? They've got the biggest goddamn military of all time, and they seem to already control the entire fucking world.
Minus Shin, because that's across a fucking desert.
Mm-hmm.
And crossing it's a whole bitch.
I guess it's just so that they can conquer that. Don't they do that at the end of the series? I'm also getting the original series confused with Brotherhood.
No. At the end of the original series, Edward gets transported with his father to World War I?
World War II. World War II, I remember specifically because the leader of the government in the Full Metal Alchemist world is referred to as the Führer.
Yeah.
But Elric, in our real world World War II history, there's like parallels of like all the people from his world in our world.
Yeah.
And the guy who is the Führer in his world is like a Jewish guy escaping persecution in Germany during World War II.
Ah, okay, right.
Which is one of those things where I think the writer thought they were doing something clever, but that's not actually saying anything.
No, it's just kind of like weird.
Yeah.
And then the ending of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Never seen. You'd be spoiling it for me.
What?
Yeah, I didn't get around to finishing it.
What?
So Brotherhood, like when I started watching it, my first impression was that it was just better than the original series in every way, which
Correct.
was really frustrating because I really liked the original series. And it was also frustrating because it was made for people to watch the original series, so they rushed through the beginning so you don't have to waste your time. Meaning I can't recommend it to people because you kind of, like, in order to get the best first impression, you need to watch, like, the first half of the original series first and then finish it off by watching Brotherhood.
They removed the entire part with Yoki.
That drives me nuts. Like, let the piece of art stand on its own. Don't, like, make you rely on other pieces of media in order to fully enjoy it. The other thing that Brotherhood does that I fucking hate is the comedy.
Yes, we've talked about this off camera many times. You hate the fact that every episode they mention that he's short.
Every episode they have to do it. It's the same joke every time. Someone says that Ed is short, he goes into chibi animation mode and gets really mad about it. Ha ha, very funny. Let's do this 40 more times.
Just give me that part.
I gotta watch every single episode with my thumb on the fast forward button for when the joke happens.
Or just, like, zone out.
The rest of the show is fantastic, though.
Okay, well, anyway, do you want me to tell you what happens at the end of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood?
Yeah, sure.
Where did you... Do you know where you ended?
So let's see. Major spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched Brotherhood.
Yeah, if you haven't watched Fullmetal... I mean, we already spoiled Fullmetal Alchemist, but if you haven't watched the Brotherhood version
nobody needs to watch the end of Fullmetal Alchemist anymore, especially not the movie. The movie's not that good.
No.
And the movie is the only thing that has the whole World War II thing in it, I should point out. Like that.
The very last episode, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. For Brotherhood, where I was at was I believe they had finished revealing who all of the homunculi are, because there's 7 homunculi and they're named after each of the 7 deadly sins. And who the homunculi are in the original series versus Brotherhood are completely different.
Yeah.
For instance, Sloth in the original series, all the homunculi were people that they tried to bring back from the dead with alchemy.
Yeah, intentionally.
So Sloth was their mom, who was the starts the story as them trying to bring their mom back from the dead, and that's what begins the story of Fullmetal Alchemist. In Brotherhood, it's just this big giant monster guy.
Yep.
And the weird thing is that the big giant monster guys, like the episodes with him, are actually way more compelling than the whole rewrite story with their mom. And you wouldn't think that'd be the case, but like, I'm sorry, Brotherhood's just really good.
Well, they're more compelling just because, like, it's, the location area and the getting. I don't want to get deep into. I don't want to do a whole Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood review today.
So in Brotherhood, they reveal that the Elric brothers' like dad is like the father of alchemy, and he's like 1 million years old.
Yeah.
And the episode Dwarf in the Bottle, where he's got the first homunculus, and it's like this weird black eye creature.
Episode.
Yeah, that is the episode where I'm like, okay, Brotherhood is definitively 1,000 times better than the original series.
Well, where did you end? Do you remember?
About there.
Okay. So after that, you were well aware that Bradley is also a homunculus. He's like the human homunculus.
Yeah.
And then Pride, his son, is the 7th and the final revealed one.
It's interesting because King Bradley was Pride in the original series, and then it's his son in Brotherhood.
I think Wrath makes more sense, and I think I gotta watch most anime dubbed. The dubbing actor who did King Bradley was fucking incredible.
Oh, that's the other thing. When I first watched Brotherhood, it was when it first came out, and it was only subbed, and I wanted to wait for the dub in order to actually watch it. And that's one of the reasons fell off.
I don't know who the actor is who does King Bradley in the dub, but he is so fucking good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to look it up because that dude is so good at what he does.
King Bradley, Brotherhood, voice actor, English.
I think it's the same guy.
Ed Blaylock?
Possibly.
It just popped up in the search bar.
It is Ed Blaylock, yes. This dude's fucking good at this shit.
We'll look him up on IMDb. I want to see if he's done any other major... Well, every anime voice actor
he's passed.
has done
that
a billion
sucks.
voices for anime. He's passed?
Yeah.
When did he die?
2017. He's
Rest in peace,
He was
Ed
64.
Blaylock.
That sucks. Fairy Tale. Overlord. I don't know if you know these, but this one is particularly big.
Let's see, in One Piece he plays Sengoku.
Interesting. He's in Space Dandy. Didn't you watch that?
I saw like a little bit of the first episode of Space Dandy, and I was immediately turned off. I do want to go back to it just because of its legacy, if that makes any sense.
Dang, this is really upsetting to find out that he passed. He's so good as King Bradley. Oh well. Yeah, no, he's really, really, really good at that. But the ending of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is that they fight alchemy.
They fight alchemy itself.
Yeah, if I got the when you commit the ultimate sin in alchemy, which is to try and bring someone back from the dead, you go to see a door, and you are like faced with a kind of a mortality death type thing. There's a dude there. You fight him. They fight him. He comes out and they fight him.
In the original series, the door led to the real world World War II.
Yes.
For some reason.
Not even going to touch it. And they fight. They win because of, obviously, Ed actually loses his ability to use alchemy entirely as a result of this. And Alphonse...
Oh, that was spoiled for me before.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why. It just was.
Alphonse goes to Shin to study more alchemy to see if he can get his brother's alchemy back. I think that's his main reason. Or just maybe just research because he's like a scientist. But that's the whole thing. That's like the end. And then they also have like a very montage at the very end of like pictures of like them going through their lives.
Oh, I love that.
It's extremely sweet. And obviously, Ed and Winry get married. And I believe Alphonse ends up marrying, what's her name? Mei Ling.
Mei Ling?
Do you not know about the Asian chick? Not the Asian chick, the Asian little girl?
I do know her because she was introduced in a few episodes, but she wasn't a major character by the time I saw. Like I know who you're talking about because
you
I'm
know
like,
about Elka Hestry?
This character was they mentioned it. Yeah. I'm like, okay, so this was all not in the original series at all.
Yeah, and
this is going to be an entire goddamn subplot of this one. And I didn't really get into any of that.
Yeah, the young prince dude, he was in the original series a bit. Can't remember his name. Might have been Shin. That feels correct and wrong. They're like related, but like they're related in the sense that they're both their father is the emperor of China in this world, but like one of them is a different concubine. It's a whole thing. Mm-hmm. And they're both trying to figure out how to find a way to get immortality.
How badly do I need to watch Brotherhood?
I don't know. I mean, like,
compared to this manga you're recommending
Compared to the manga I'd
which
recommend...
had Atelier. I'm never going to pronounce this word right.
Atelier.
Atelier.
I think that... they're not really comparable because you can just read it. Like, it's going to take you, like 2 days to read. It's going to take you, like, potentially longer to watch the rest of the show.
Just binge it super hard.
I think that you probably should finish Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood because it's been, like... I don't know what you know. For want to say 5 to 10 years, somewhere in that area, on my anime list, it was at the top consistently every year.
It's always been a massively popular anime.
Always, because it's one of the best. Because it's and it's also the fact that it's written by women is so cool.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Yeah, I don't know much about the series.
Oh my god.
Like, I don't know anything about the manga at all. I remember the story is that originally when it was airing, the anime, it was still being written actively as a manga, and the anime caught up to where the manga was.
Yep.
And they had the choice of either, delaying production or just going off in their own direction and writing their own story. And that's what they ended up doing was they just wrote their own version of Fullmetal Alchemist, and arguably that version that they made, the original series, was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I enjoyed it for most part.
My entire problem is the comparison.
And well, as soon as you compare it to Brotherhood, it's like, damn, this is so much better. That's why I was always surprised. Like, I was always, surprised by how much better Brotherhood obviously was just from the little bit I watched.
Yeah.
Because the original series was already super popular because it was good.
I watched the original series, and I thought it was, fine, I guess. I didn't have as much of attachment to it. And then I watched Brotherhood, and I was like, this is fucking amazing.
So I was introduced to it from a classmate back in 8th grade, actually. So that's when I was 14 years old. And I was at the peak of my hardcore I hate anime phase during this time, I should point out.
Yeah.
Because this is also around the time where Naruto was already at the peak of
Yeah.
its popularity. No, sorry, Naruto's...
It would've
I always
been-
think that Naruto's at the peak of its popularity, but, like, the reality is that, like, whatever current time it is now is Naruto's peak of
It
popularity.
was
'cause it
when
only never
Naruto
seems to
was
get more
airing.
popular.
It was when Naruto was airing.
Naruto made me hate anime.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it's made me reflect and notice like a lot of the conventions of anime, and made me think about it a lot more. But at that time, I didn't like anime. He made me watch Full Metal Alchemist. He gave me every single episode in like on a flash drive, except for 2.
Except very legally.
Yes, he did this entirely legally. I'm also not going to mention his name for entirely legal reasons. Except for 2 episodes, which he deemed not important to know the overall story, because like he was really into the fact that like there's this one episode fairly early on where they go to like this town, and like it's controlled by like this rich owner. Like there's like a mining town, and the rich owner is like is this
And there's those
evil
2
capitalist.
boys.
And he's got like a maid who does alchemy, and she's like his secret weapon. And then this character winds up getting brought back all the way at the end of the original series.
Yeah.
And like, okay, well, you have to watch that just so you can appreciate this surprise later on. Otherwise, it would just be a random episode that wouldn't matter. The 2 episodes that he wound up cutting out, though, was like 2 episodes near the beginning. There's like one where they go to a town and it's got like the legend of like a blue rose or something that's used for medicine.
Yeah.
And the other one was the one where they introduce like all the characters that like they know from the military, like Humes and Hawkeye and like everyone. And I'm like, why did you think this wasn't relevant? I don't no idea who these people are.
That's so funny.
Especially because like the episode spoilers, massive spoilers for Full Metal Alchemist. When Humes dies, like that was like the thing that made me go. That was the moment where I'm like, okay, anime has really good emotional storytelling.
Yeah.
Sometimes, because this character was built up to be so incredibly likable, and then he dies so tragically, and so
He dies figuring it out.
yeah, exactly.
That's the part that's crazy. Anyway, this is her. Hiromu Akara. Probably pronounced wrong. That's who made Full Metal Alchemist.
I think like it ends up like all my favorite mangas turned out to be written by women.
Probably.
Well, not true. That's not Berserk.
Oh, yeah.
But I secretly suspect that Jujutsu Kaisen's author is a woman.
Yeah, that's actually been a popular theory. Maybe that theory will die when more of the anime comes out.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if I haven't talked about it on this, but I think I've talked to you.
I know you've read ahead in the manga and
lot.
that you do not like where the story goes. And
Nope.
where the anime is at, it's only in series 2, and that's what I've watched so far.
Yep.
And while I've loved everything I've seen so far, I've also I can see what the direction the story is going in after season 2, and that has me very anxious.
Here's my theory. My theory after having read the whole thing, because it's actually finished now. The next 2 seasons are going to be pretty good. I think it's going to be the 4th season, or possibly a movie, that's going to be your favorite thing in the world.
How many gorillas are involved?
There are no gorillas involved, but it's one of the best characters doing the coolest shit ever.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil it, because it doesn't really, I don't know if it affects it. I think it's a really cool, in the manga at least, a really cool moment, and I really want it to be, like, understood and seen live for you. But there's a specific part where one character goes and does a thing. It's kind of a side story, and it's great. And then after that, it gets, like, okay. And then there's a certain thing that happens that, for me, was the exact switch, where it, like, blop, and now we're bad. Now this kind of sucks.
Damn.
It kind of sucks. And then it continues and continues, and it's kind of like, I don't know.
Vague explaining Jujutsu Kaisen for our listeners.
And then, it gets to a very specific point where there's like a fight. It's like the final fight. I'm not going to go into the detail of the final fight, but that final fight happens. This final fight takes, like, between the time of all the issues releasing and all of the time, like the time between the first issue of this fight to the ending of the show, or the ending of the manga, an entire fucking year.
How many issues? Is this
Like
a weekly
8
manga?
It's something like that. It's like 80 issues, I want to say.
One fight.
Fucking insane. I think it's arguably one fight. I don't know.
God, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, and then like every single, like my biggest gripe, which I can tell you because they don't give you too many details, is that they do word soup every issue to explain what just happened.
Yeah, I hate that kind of stuff in anime.
Well, it's not even. It's because they like. It's not the sort of thing like in Hunter x Hunter where
Where they have to explain the goddamn Nen system.
you gotta talk about how it's I have bungee gum, which has the properties of both bungee and gum. It's not that because it's not Hisoka telling you about it. It's a thing happens between two people, and then it rolls back, and there's people who be like, "This is how he managed to do that." And they do that for such a fucking long time, it makes me want to die.
It's like, here's our made-up video game system that governs our universe, and we need to meticulously explain the mechanisms of the system, just so that we can then break the rules of said system, and then pretend that that was clever that we did that.
It was hell. It was hell to read. But the next few seasons are gonna be hype.
Nice. I am looking forward to it.
All right, I've recommended you all Witch Hat Atelier.
We're gonna have to. I actually want to keep on talking about anime low key, but we've got to wrap this up, and we still haven't talked about Quacks of Quedlinburg yet.
We still haven't talked about Quacks of Quedlinburg, so let's go ahead and get that going.
Quacks of Quedlinburg is fucking great.
It's probably one of the most fun deck builders that you can get that doesn't involve cards basically at all.
I believe the colloquial term is bag builder.
In this context, it would be bag builder. So the idea behind Quacks of Quedlinburg is that you have a pot.
You are playing as an alchemist.
You and all your players are playing as alchemists, and you are quacks.
Yeah.
You're not good at what you do. You get a bag full of stuff, and you have to get as far onto this track of pot as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So if you can see it, there's numbers. Oh wait, no, they can't see it. This is an overlay. There's numbers on this that go around in a circle, and you just have to get higher numbers. The more numbers you get, the better you'll do. The more points you score.
You pull the tiles out of the bag. The tiles have the numbers that go up. The different ingredients that the tiles represent have different powers depending on the type of game you're playing.
Yep.
And there's one that's just called the cherry bomb. And if you draw too many cherry bombs, your potion explodes in your face and you lose the round, and you basically are set back compared to all the other players making their potions, whose potions did not explode in their face.
It's maybe slightly more accurate, to say that you get an option between
being able to buy more ingredients or actually score points towards victory at the end of the game.
There's a pretty solid argument to be made that if you blow up early, it's actually maybe advantageous.
You think so? I think it's always good to not blow up, but
it is
if you get a high enough score when you explode.
Because if you're the first 3 rounds roughly, if you can get as farther than anybody else, and you can guarantee that you get you would get the die, which means that nobody else does. Mm-hmm. You can guarantee that. You can also guarantee you have the most points. You can get the most money, and then to catch up, there's a catch-up mechanic.
We are discussing Quacks Quedlinburg strategy because we love this game.
And in this game, points are determined. I'm not going to show another thing. They can probably barely see it. Points are determined on a scale that goes around a board, and in between each set of these points, there are rats.
Yeah, I love the visuals. It's a very, very decorative play board that has lots of artwork all over it, and around the tile is just a series of numbers. Just track how many points each player has, and it looks like there's images of rats with their tails laying across the board all over the place.
Okay.
And the rat tails just designate where the people who are behind the other players, where they can start at in order to have, a little bit of advantage.
Should just prep stuff more. But yeah, that's the idea. And so if you start the game and you get farther in, you get to 10 and everybody else gets to 7 or 8, you could potentially use this money to get more stuff to put into your bag, and then you can use the rat tails to catch up.
The stuff that you buy are different ingredients, and in every single game, it starts with you like choosing what exactly the ingredients do. Like there's a bunch of like little books that you pull out that has like, okay, in this game, spiders. If it's the very last ingredient in your pot before you decide to stop making your potion, then you get a gem or something like that.
Yep.
And then comes the thought process, like, okay, well, what if I go all in on Raven Skulls this game, or what if this is a mushroom plus pumpkins game, you know?
Go crazy, do a freaking moth game.
There is strategy to be had, but for the most part, it's a pretty random game. It's a pretty casual game. It's good for people who do not like to lose badly at games.
It's weird because it's like a roguelike board game. Almost, because you can change the books that you have and the abilities, and you can even do it randomly.
Yeah, we mix and match all the time.
Yeah. So it's such a good fucking game.
It's fun. It is a very, very easy to recommend for like all types of players. Like there is a competitive element to it, but it isn't overly competitive that it's going to get in the way.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, and this is something I wanted to bring up when we talk about Party House, because I'm going to be comparing Party House a lot to this game.
Yeah.
But with board games and physical components and the like ability to do admin yourself, I have never had a greater desire to cheat in any other game beyond Quacks of Quedlinburg. Like it's like you pull out that tile and nobody else but you sees it, and it's a cherry bomb, and you're like, great, I blew up my potion. If I could just fucking put this back and just draw another one and nobody would fucking notice.
We have house rules now, like more recently as I've played, where you can like do stuff where you can use a gem to put stuff back, or you can
That's a cool idea.
Or your potion, ordinarily if you want to use your potion, you have to do it before you blow up.
There's a lot of ways to do like little house rules. Like we've already done a couple.
Yeah.
Like little house rules that we just prefer.
Just make it a little bit better. Like you can use your potion preempt or post that way that you have to be done. You can't like continue, but you're not blown up.
So for me, I mentioned the desire to cheat. The thing that keeps me from doing it is just reminding myself that Quacks of Quedlinburg is not a very competitive game, and if I don't win, it does not fucking matter.
No one's counting, you know?
The other one I always want to cheat on is Twilight Imperium, because like the game is so big that like pieces get like jumbled around all the time, and I'm like, okay, did my resources get knocked off my board? How many resources did I have? Can I just add a couple extra? Okay, I better not. Better not do that.
Yeah, dude. Twilight. We're gonna be talking about Twilight Imperium next week, I guess we could say.
You want to do that next week?
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna have my copy. We're gonna put it right there, right? You know, and then that's probably gonna be like 90% of that episode.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So Alex, you might want to skip that one.
Alex needs to learn how to appreciate.
He's not gonna appreciate it. You just need to accept it. He doesn't like the game. It's fine.
He's already better at it than I am. He's got more wins than I do. I think he's won 2 out of the 3 games he's played.
I was gonna say I thought he'd won every game he played. But
I think he might have actually.
I can't remember. I don't know.
It would depend on our first game where we got the rules completely wrong, because that always happens with big games.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend giving this game a check. It's really, really fun if you haven't already. Got a lot of fun mechanics, and it's just a great name.
Quacks of Quedlinburg.
So good. Like, such a perfect name. Do you have anything else you want to touch on?
I mean, I just am still UFO 50-brained, so I could just go back to talking about that. Or I could just randomly, casually talk about video game history if you'll let me.
Oh, we can you do your corrections for Donkey Kong?
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay, so I wanted to do the corrections, and I knew which games I wanted to bring up. And then Eric, one of our favorite listeners, brought up on our Discord channel a reminder of games that I forgot. And he actually named 2 games that I completely forgot about. So now I get to admit that Eric knew more about Donkey Kong than I did.
Which is not hard at all.
I went out of my way to not look anything up. I'm going completely by memory. But here are some of the major Donkey Kong games that I did not name. Some of them I purposely did not name because I kind of consider them side spin-off games.
Right.
But at least one of them, like, arguably would be considered a mainline title. So the first 3 are the Donkey Kong Land games, which were made by Rare, and were the Game Boy equivalents of the Donkey Kong Country games. They look like they are ports. They're not actually ports. They are original games made for the system. Then there is Donkey Kong King of Swing, which was a climbing game for the Game Boy Advance, where each shoulder button would control one of Donkey Kong's hands, and you climb up a pegboard and you collect bananas.
Yep.
It's okay. I thought it was kind of fun. The emulated version I was playing would always freeze on the tornado level, so I never beat it. This game got a sequel for the DS called Donkey Kong Jungle Climber, and I'm sure it is just as decent.
Okay.
But the most famous games that I forgot were, of course, the Donkey Konga games. And what I did not realize was that there's 3 of these. I thought there was just 1.
I did not know that either.
But Eric is the one that pointed out that it is an entire trilogy of rhythm games where you play songs with a special bongo drum controller.
My cousin had it. We played them. I remember distinctly playing Evanescence on it.
So all of those I consider side series, but the last game, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, kind of could be considered a mainline Donkey Kong game in between Donkey Kong 64 and Donkey Kong Country Returns, because it is a full side-scrolling platformer.
But you just also...
But it's controlled with the bongo drums. You continually tap the right drum in order to move right, and you tap the left drum in order to go left, and you hit them both to jump, and you clap to do an attack, because it has like a little microphone.
I remember this.
And I played a demo at Best Buy where I was just using a GameCube controller instead of the bongo drums, and it was fine. But, like, it kind of is a full-on Donkey Kong game. It's got, like, a bunch of bosses. It's got its own thing. And, like, it was the latest game when Brawl came out, so, like, all of the references to Donkey Kong in, like, the campaign mode all came from that game. It's just that nobody really remembers it because it's, like, not that great.
No, also you need a controller to play it like the way it's intended. It's like...
I wanted to, like, use that as the reason to call it a spin-off, but then, like, Skyward Sword exists. Like, Nintendo is not above using gimmicky control sequences.
No, but Skyward Sword arguably got more popular after they made it so you could also just use a regular controller.
Well, they didn't do that until it was re-released on the Switch. For a long time, though, it was a mainline Zelda game that
could also disliked a lot when it first came out.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, does it count as a spin-off game because you use a Wiimote? No. Nobody considers Skyward Sword a spin-off Zelda game.
I would also make the point, though, that the Wiimote isn't like a gimmicky controller in the same capacity because it's not like separate. It's just part of the way you play Wii games.
Except, like, you couldn't play Skyward Sword with a regular Wiimote. You had to have a Wii Motion Plus controller. So no matter what, it's just like Donkey Kong where you need a special controller in order to play the game.
Well, you could get the adapter.
Yep. But you could also just get the bongos.
I don't know.
Also, you could play Donkey Kong, or sorry, not Donkey Kong, but Donkey Kong Jungle Beat with a GameCube controller. You just play it by rapid pressing the right bumper in order to move right, and rapid pressing the left bumper in order to move left, and pressing both of them in order to jump, and pressing B in order to clap and attack. Okay. So, technically, it was even more accessible than Zelda was.
I would argue that design-wise, it is a not mainline game because they would have to, by rights, make it slower and more intentional with enemy placement based off of the fact that you have to clap.
Just look up gameplay real quick. Find it on YouTube. Like it looks just like a platformer.
Yeah,
like the controls are the special gimmick behind it, but otherwise it is just a 2D platformer.
Conga.
It's Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. It doesn't have conga in it.
I'm sure that this will get me where I want to go.
I don't think so. Because that's a different game.
Oh, it's not typing.
Oh, there was also a Donkey Kong racing game for the Nintendo Wii. And this was another thing that they were kind of like fixated on the whole drumming controls. But it didn't use the bongo drums. It just used the Wiimote and nunchuck. And you had to use them like drumsticks in order to make a... It was called Donkey Kong Barrel Blast. And the gimmick was that the different playable characters all had rocket jetpacks attached to them. And that's how they raced each other. And you would do that by drumming the Wiimote. And yeah, another forgotten game that nobody gives a shit about.
I'm gonna skip past this. I don't know what's going on. So he's clapping.
Yeah,
And
this is
we'll
the
clap.
boss. The first boss is a character named Dread Kong because he is an ape with dreadlocks.
Clever, clever.
I actually love the design of that guy. Yeah, see how he just did that Sonic attack when he jumped over those? Like, this looks to me like
I agree with
Donkey
you.
Kong Tropical Freeze, you know? Well, I mean, not as good, because it's got these big open levels.
I'd agree with you. I guess it does not look as much like a game that I would have expected it to look like, to be fair.
The thing is, it's just forgotten about because it wasn't good and it wasn't popular.
Yeah. All right. Well, glad we corrected that. The record has been corrected.
There, and I have defended my right as the Donkey Kong fan who knows everything about Donkey Kong by naming every
Yeah,
single
Eric,
Donkey Kong game.
stay in your Zoids lane.
I mean, I guess I could also mention the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games, where it's like I did mention Mario vs. Donkey Kong for the Game Boy Advance, but then that got like 2 sequels on the DS.
I'm chill with whatever, bro. It's just Donkey Kong. I don't really care as much.
My original point when I was going through it is that Donkey Kong never had a stable identity, and I think like this correction points that out even better.
Gotcha.
Like we go from the weird arcade games to a shooter to platformers to a rhythm game. This new version of Donkey Kong with the big ape and the little girl on the shoulder, it works. It's so iconic. It could have been Donkey Kong from the beginning if that's how it started, you know?
Gotcha. Okay. Well, pretty sure that's our show then.
Yeah, it was actually a long episode.
Yeah, it might be longer than it's supposed to be, but it's whatever. Thank you for watching and listening. Hope that you had a good time.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell. Tell your friends. Put us onto your parents' TV and don't tell them what we are.
Get involved in Stop Killing Games drama and then name drop us so that we can be involved in that drama so that we can be harassed and also get lots and lots more views.
Yeah. Don't harass anybody.
Yeah, no.
Never harass anybody over it.
No, just open us as
But if
targets
you
of
do.
harassment.
No, don't.
But if you do.
Mention the mold.
The mold.
Because we're starting topic. We'll grow on you.
Like mold.
All right. Bye.
Goodbye.